Share is a private, secure email messaging system. The company also has some new features coming out for businesses as well very soon. With me is CEO Alain Ghiai to talk more about this. And Alain, I love, it seems like every time we talk once a week, and there's always some kind of hacking or security issue. And this week it's that some Mac users think that Zoom is listening to them, even when you're not on Zoom. What do you know about that?
That's it. There's a hack every hour. We could have tons of content, but we don't have enough time. So the latest article is Mac users are reporting more and more that Zoom is recording their conversation and listening to it. So it's not surprising. You know, it's like when WhatsApp got caught, Facebook got caught, when they found out that their contractors based overseas, mind you, were listening and recording to your conversation. And the excuse was, we want to improve your user experience. You know, that's the most pathetic.
The language skills too. That was another one.
It's like the language skill, you know, the other one could be, it's the most pathetic excuse that these big tech companies are all using. And the reason why, because when they get caught, and once in a while, like Zoom did last year, they pay 80, 100 million bucks in fines to some European Union. They're the only ones in the EU. They're trying to hammer down on these guys, but they're the lone soldier over there. And once in a while, they pay 100 million to shut them up, and that's it. I mean, that's pathetic. So if you use Zoom, because a lot of people use it, and I have to hand it to them, they have a very good tool. So it works really well. Better than the other solutions that I have seen. So if you use Zoom and you have a Mac, what I recommend is uninstall the application completely. So don't just shut it down. You have to uninstall it, restart your computer, and then when you have another Zoom conference, just reinstall the app. It's unfortunate, but that's probably the best way you can protect yourself against people listening and recording to your conversation, from corporate secret all the way to your most intimate conversations at home with your family. And obviously, we're going to come up with solutions so people don't have to suffer like that anymore.
Yeah, that's just uncalled for. Listening to people's at-home conversations. I mean, come on. So now, I don't know, you mentioned the EU. You may have heard that Texas's attorney general has filed a lawsuit against Facebook over their facial recognition and the data collection, which they've since disabled. But Texas is making the argument that they did this for 10 years and would tag people through facial recognition, even people who weren't Facebook users on the site, and encourage you to tag them. And so I feel like there's starting to be a little bit, mainly among these AGs, these attorneys general, that are fighting against some of this stuff.
Well, you know, thank God for Texas and some of the other states, I have to say, because they're the only ones that have the guts to stand up to these trillion-dollar companies, mind you. So a lot of countries don't even have a trillion-dollar economy. Most of the countries in the world don't. And here we have one guy with his company worth $1 trillion. So yes, they are starting to do that. I have to say Europe was the first. And then when Facebook, Zuckerberg says, well, we won't provide Facebook in Europe if we can't steal the people's data, literally what it means. Because they said, if we can't take the data, we're just not going to provide the service. Both the German chancellor and the French president said, fine, they're great. The chancellor was hacked and hasn't used Facebook in 4 years by his own admission. And it's like, fine, take it away. The thing is that people have the power. It's a cliche thing, but it really is true. If you use your Facebook, you're giving power and money, not only to Facebook and big tech, but down the road to those in totalitarian government, like in China, for example. Facebook is bowing to China so much that they're now suspending accounts of US citizens in the US. I'm not talking about an account that's in China. An account that's in the US is being, let's say, held froze for 24 hours because they may have set some objective observation about the Chinese totalitarianism, what's happening with their minorities and whatever, their political system, their lack of freedom and so forth. So Facebook is now suspending US citizens' account because somebody, some poor person said something maybe not so great about China. So it's about time that Texas and frankly all the other states should put Facebook to put in their place, because these companies, Facebook is not alone. They will basically take away all your freedom, all your rights, all your civil rights, slowly, bit by bit. And the more you're dependent on these companies, the more they will take your freedom. So the idea is shut down your account. You don't need to tell the world every 15 minutes what you're doing. There are other alternatives than Facebook. Honestly, it's time that people wake up and really take their destiny in their own hand. And I applaud what Texas did. I applaud what the European Union is doing. I wish we had more AGs like the one in Texas. And I'm hoping that this will be increasing, this trend will increase to really tell these big tech companies that people have a right to privacy and their civil rights. They can write what they want to a certain degree, in the respect of society. You're entitled to your opinion. And that's the one thing, that's the reason why at Secure, we always refuse to be hosted by big tech. Because if you are like AWS, Amazon Web Service, you're finished. You're at the mercy of a company shutting down your hosting. And this is why we don't do any big tech hosting. We don't data mine, we don't do any of that.
Yeah, well, we've seen that with different groups they're trying to organize and fundraise and things like that. The crowdfunding platforms will shut that down. The service, the platforms will shut them down. So. And Secure, you don't have to deal with any of that. And that's really the future, because this is just there's too much control. It's kind of tyrannical, actually, what they're doing.
It is tyrannical. And in the guise of democracy, I mean, who would think that a US company has so much tyrannical exercise on your First Amendment, right? If I'm correct, right? I don't know all.
Right. I mean, this company grew and thrived here, and now they were
financed by the U.S. government.
I know.
By U.S. investors, foreign investors too, and suddenly they thrive and they basically bow down to totalitarian government, like in China. You think Facebook doesn't want the billions and billions of dollars of ads? Of course they do. All these big techs do. All these companies. So they're very hypocritical as well. Frankly, I'm surprised that the US let so much time pass, but I'm glad that now the pendulum is swinging. I always have great hopes in the US when people tell me, this country is finished. I don't like it anymore. I'm going to leave my country. And I get a lot of U.S. citizens so frustrated. And I tell them as an outsider, what's great about the U.S. is its ability to be flexible, open-minded, and adapt. And I think now the pendulum is swinging so much to the left that it's literally Marxism at some point, and it's totalitarianism.
For sure, yeah.
It's like you would have the far right, you have the far left, they meet eventually, that now people are going to wake up, and I think there will be some equilibrium, but only if we're very proactive about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things is shut down your Facebook account. Like, what is it bringing to you? Right. As a matter of fact, we're going to make a decision in the company to shut down our Facebook account. We had one because it's one of the things companies do. I'm actually thinking to see with our team, do we really need our Facebook account? Probably not. I don't want to give them one dime of advertising money. Because of everything they do. They've been taking your face, they've been taking your content, your life, your geolocation. They have your life in their hand, and they sell it to outsiders, not just US company, they sell it to Chinese and other companies. So it's about time that we crack down on these companies.
Yeah. Well, and Facebook stock isn't doing so well. So maybe there's something on the horizon. I mean, I think it's been cut like in a third in the past few weeks. So
a lot of these companies, but unfortunately, I mean, it's great. That's a start. I think that's a start, but we need to have companies that develop solutions that are not hosted on big tech. And that's very hard to do because you can't go to a company and say, hey, spend $10 million on your infrastructure, like what we did, instead of paying $2,000 a month on some Amazon Web Service. I like Amazon, by the way. I think personally, when it comes to their e-commerce, etc. They have done an amazing job hiring a lot of people, providing service. And I don't know so much about AWS, but it is a big tech company. But for example, Google, Microsoft, all these guys, Facebook, that's like literally they take all your data. WhatsApp, they record your conversation, and then when they get caught, they're like, "Oh shoot, we're just going to say it was to improve your, the user interface and the language skill." But they basically record and steal all your information.
Yeah. I'm sure they have these kind of excuses all lined up for when somebody asks them. So let's just talk about your solutions, because I know the first quarter, here we are, you had kind of some big reveals coming. So what are those and where does that all stand?
Yeah, so I'm super excited. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this kind of freedom and how, we finally need to say no to people stealing our data. But yes, we have our email solution, Secure Mail, on its own, coming out at the end of February, so launching in March. So if you just want an email as a consumer, you'll pay $7 a month for 100 gig, and you don't need to buy the secure package, which comes with the messaging. We also have, in the same time frame, our business solution, which I'm really excited about, because finally a business can migrate their email to us. They can also have their domain name hosted with us. So that's a big thing. We have a waiting list of businesses that are waiting for that. Anything from schools, clinics, you name it. I was quite surprised that even so-called non-so-critical infrastructure, you don't need to be a super fancy law firm or financial institution. You have just regular small business that don't want to have their data mined. So that's coming. We're launching all of that in March. We're also launching in March chat by invite using SMS. So if you use secure messenger instead of WhatsApp and all the other stuff that's out there, and you want to message someone that doesn't have secure, because granted, we're not a $1 trillion company, so everybody doesn't have our solution. Now you can text someone and say, "Hey, Jane, chat with me, click here," and you both have that communication, and the other person doesn't even need to register to secure. It's just an invite during the convo, and then the sender can delete it after. This will be amazing for businesses. We're also doing a big push with Remax soon. So there's going to be a lot, and we have our email application coming at the end of March. We've had a deal with Remax through a platform called AppDirect, a distribution deal. We're going to upload our secure communications tool, and then I think in Q2, we will push heavily with Remax, because realtors use email and message all the time, and they send valuable information back and forth to their clients. So I'm very excited about the business prospects from Q2 onwards. So we're on time on everything, and happy to say that everything is running smoothly on that end.
Awesome. And we're going to do what we can to get the word out so people know there is a alternative to what we have.
To cut you, and on the video conferencing, we are launching Secure Pro, which is our alternative to video conferencing like Zoom. That will come probably at the end of Q2 or in July. It'll be about $35 to $50 per person. It will have the video conferencing, the voice encryption, email, and messaging. So the whole gamut. And we're launching Secure Voice, which is voice encryption. That's coming in Q2 sometime. We're hoping in the month of May. So exciting stuff happening. And finally, you won't have to give your entire data to China or Facebook when you make a video conferencing tool and you discuss people's medical information or your company's, top secret IP that you developed, and it won't go to an outsider for sale, because we guarantee that we don't data mine it and your information belongs to you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I look forward to more updates and looking forward to meeting you in person very soon.
Likewise, looking forward to it. Very excited.
Great. Thanks, Alain, so much.